take the opportunity to introduce to you myself. I'm Maneli Siwolela, the acting spokesperson of Parliament for now. Otherwise, the title is Section Manager responsible for Media and Communications. And at the front here, we have our leaders who perhaps need no introduction to you. We've got the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Lechisa Tsinodi. And then next to him, we have Mr. Joe Monyambi, who is the House Chairperson responsible for committees and oversight. He's standing in for the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP. They are here. I remember when we had a press conference on Thursday last week, you asked a number of questions which the Secretary said, I think those areas are not for him to deal with. Now the leadership, the political leadership is here to be able to deal with those issues. Welcome everybody. I think you've been doing this thing for quite a long time, so I don't need to repeat anything that cell phones off, etc., because we will obstruct or disturb the recordings. Without any further waste of time, may I request the Deputy Speaker to give just an overview of the state of readiness, and then Mr. Nyambi may make additions, and after that we will allow you to ask questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Manelisi. And ladies and gentlemen of the media, welcome. I'm not going to give an overview of our state of readiness. I'm going to tell you that we are ready and ask you to ask questions that you want to ask us, because that's the most important part. The Secretary presented certain things about our state of readiness last week, and I assume that that may have generated questions and so on. But as is normal, the preparations for the State of the Nation begin somewhere in the last quarter of the year before, so that we get our ducks in the row, so to speak, so that we are ready with the invitations to people who should be invited, so that we sort out whatever needs sorting out from the systems that needs to be in place, and we deal with the lessons that we learned in the previous State of the Nation address and adjust accordingly where there's a need for that. Otherwise, as far as we are concerned, we are looking forward to the launch of what's going to inform the debates that will follow the 9th. For the parliamentary program, that's the formal beginning of parliamentary work, in a sense. Even as we know that even before the State of the Nation address, often committees of Parliament are busy with work that comes from the previous year, continues to be handled, but the formal ceremony for opening the legislature program means that we must listen to the head of state presenting to us his perspective of the view, his perspective of the state of the nation, which then becomes debated in Parliament. And subsequently, the provincial state of the province are given throughout the country. Similarly, those are debated in our multi-party political system in the country. So that's the view. That debate will be followed by, on the 22nd, the budget, an allocation of resources intended to deal with what the President would have outlined. And that too becomes a further launch of a debate of the wisdom or otherwise of that allocation of the resources. And so this is the first quarter major, if you like, highlights of the first quarter of parliamentary work. In the debates, naturally, we expect that people will bring to bear on those debates their experiences in their constituencies and sectoral interests and so on, so that what gets finally decided in the committees that are going to sit to debate both the state of the nation as well as the budget allocations and so on, do so and then make recommendations to appropriate authorities for handling those. As is usual, we've tried to be as inclusive as possible to people who get invited. We've also tried to ensure that every guest who comes here feels safe and can be assured that we will do everything in our power to ensure their safety, and that everybody out there in the country, we've tried to ensure that through our communication systems, people will be able to listen to and watch the State of the Nation address and hopefully follow the debates that are going to follow. And that's where we are at in terms of these preparations, broadly speaking. I thought I should highlight those from where I'm sitting, and I would leave it to you to give us questions that you do have. Honorable Nyambe, you want to make a comment?
We're ready for the questions. It's an engagement session. Thank you so much. May we then open the platform for the media to ask questions. It's an age-old tradition. You just introduce yourself, the media represent, and then put your question. We'll take about 5 questions at a time. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. Marianne Merton, Daily Maverick. 2 questions. One is there have been claims that there have been no changes beyond the Media Bay media arrangements. However, it has been confirmed by various parliamentary officials that the media will be corralled in what is called the media square and designated areas and will not be allowed to move freely, unhindered, across the parliamentary precinct, as has been the tradition since 1994, without an escort. This was confirmed as Parliamentary Communication Unit has not yet agreed to meet the Parliamentary Press Gallery despite some 10 days of requests. From your position on this point, how can you, as political office bearers in this Parliament, as well as the Secretary to Parliament, on public platforms, lie, tell untruths, and misrepresent the situation when media movement, for the first time in this democratic Parliament, is restricted, and the Secretary to Parliament, when he was asked on Thursday specifically about the escorts, sidestepped the question to say, quote unquote, something along the lines of, well, if this should happen, the escorts will be the Parliamentary Communications Unit assisted by our colleagues in government communications. That's the first question. The second question is, who is funding the Speaker's ball? The invitations have gone out. RSVPs are being addressed to an ANC email. Parliament is on public record denying Parliament is funding this. Who is funding the Speaker's ball? Thank you.
We take 2 or 3 other questions. Go ahead.
Hi, Deputy Speaker. Baba Londenza from the Sunday Times. I've been covered by Marianne, but I'm just want to confirm where the Speaker is. I imagine she's the one who will be chairing the joint sitting on Thursday. Just in that context, because I think she would be dealing directly with what happens inside the chamber. And just on another point, the Secretary to Parliament said last week Thursday that it will take on the same format as it has in previous years. This is probably my 5th or 6th SONA. I think my colleagues have attended more SONAs than me, but as far as security is concerned, this is a first for me. I had to fetch accreditation about 1 kilometer away in Hope Street on Saturday, whereas previously it was just a walk across the building into, which was quite quick. I'm just trying to get an idea. The stringent security measures that we can all see, are they informed by what, a risk assessment? What has changed from last year, Deputy Speaker, for Parliament? I mean, there was the Defence Force last weekend through the weekend. I mean, I saw them on the precinct. It's just a bit strange. If you could just clarify for us whether is this informed by security assessment that requires such, yes. And just last question, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, sorry. Would you say that the State of the Nation address, as it is now, the joint sitting, is it something that you look forward to in recent years, or has that what changed? Is it something in the political calendar that you personally look forward to?
Hi, it's Janet Hurd from Media 24. I have 2 questions. Just picking up on the appeals by both the PGA and SANEF to please look into the matter and be assured that the information is very clear from the PGA about restrictions of movement on Thursday. It is very, very clear. There is no 2 ways about it. Since the appeals, we've had Mr. Tsinoli going on public record saying that there is no reason to be concerned and nothing has changed. But the left doesn't seem to agree with what the right is doing. There is no security person here present I can see. We need to be assured from the security agents and the security people at Parliament. We need written assurances, almost a piece of paper that we can walk around and saying, you can't actually escort us, we have the right to move. This matter is extremely serious. And it just seems to me that Parliament isn't really understanding the appeals from journalists, urgent appeals, to really get to the bottom of this and to make sure if there is a miscommunication or crossed lines or something or 3 things going on at once. We've had the situation of signal jamming in the past. So we are wary. And it is really important that we are assured that we can cover this event on Thursday. And my second question is Parliament paying state security for the accreditation process? And if so, how much? Thanks.
Sorry, can I ask my question so that it actually expands on one of the questions, just so that when the Deputy Speaker answers, he's got it included. Yeah, it's on the issue of this media square. I mean, I've covered several State of the Nation addresses. It's the first time this year that a concept called media square is introduced. And in the face of the denials about media movement being restricted, why was there a need this year to introduce something called media square, where we've never had it in the past?
Maybe it's crucial to say anyone else who had his or her hand up who was going to deal with the same issue, because I can see that it's not coming only from the head, it's coming from the heart and also from the gut. Is there anyone else who wants to further explain the questions that have already been asked in that respect?
The answer will provoke more questions. Don't bother. Don't extract it. Questions.
Okay,
from
fine.
people. Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much for those questions, and I appreciate the concern with which they asked some of them. And yes, I do look forward to SONA, Chief, every year, partly because of what it represents for, I'll tell you at a personal level. There are people that every year we only see during the State of the Nation address who come from all over the country. People we have worked with for years, people who are in critical sectors who you often can't find because of their agendas. You know, Holomisa made the general, I must be careful with my language I speak, said that it's a lie that you can't meet the leadership of the ANC. Just go to the airport, you'll find them going or arriving. Now, the state of the nation is a place where you find many people in politics, in the business sector, in the labor sector, in the civil society sector and so on, in the religious sector. And so this is one place where you can be assured that you are going to meet some of the people that operate in those sectors during the State of the Nation address. The substance of the debate, it's important to inform us about what is likely the tenor the debate is going to take inside Parliament and so on. So it's critical for that reason that there are, since the disruptive stuff happened inside Parliament has not changed essentially that bit. That you can be optimistic, as I often say in public, that I'm always optimistic about things turning out well and so on. And when they don't, we are ready for that. We know this is politics. This is not, as some would like to call it, a sacred space. This is a political institution. So the robustness can sometimes be overzealous and go beyond boundaries. We must be ready for that. So the answer to that is that no, I always look forward to it without suggesting that we don't get worried about the things that people now do inside the house and so on. I want to assure members there will be no restrictions for media to do their work around Parliament. And I said that I assume that the status quo remains. The idea of I don't know where the idea of a media square comes from. I don't know where it comes from. So quarreling people up, the only place you are going to be quarantined in is if you get into the press bay. Because it's small, you must be in there and so on. You can't do that and so on. Meaning that, no, if you want to be elsewhere, of course you will be elsewhere. But the bay is where those 66 of you who are going to get accreditation will be able to get into. The location of the accreditation center is, I said that we learn lessons from what happens in the past. There are more people who want to come here inside the Parliament. Of the media, there are I was told, Manuel is here, they keep the records of over 700 people who have applied from the media to be accredited and so on. But also, most importantly, for the last 2.5 years, more people have wanted to come and march like they've never done before outside Parliament. Last year, the student broke the fences here to move in and so on. Those things, ask anybody who plans any major event. You prepare for responses that are adequate to what might happen as a result. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, the location of where accreditation takes place is often made as a result of facilitating the best possible arrangement from a security point of view to those who plan and work around security. And security has always been part of the processes of Parliament. There's no question about it. That it has become more prominent is as a result of the nature of the disruptions that took place. It's not like it's a new phenomenon altogether, but it's just that adjustment must be made according to the possibility of disruption externally, especially, and so on. So for me, that's the story. But nothing in what we are planning is intended to restrict the movement of journalists here. I don't know, we were with the speaker from this morning attending an important speakers forum. The speaker and chairperson of the NCOP led a meeting of the speakers forum with the speakers and deputy speakers and secretaries of legislatures from across the 9 provinces. And we just finished now. As I came here, I was coming directly from that probe. So because of the preparations for tomorrow and so on, there are other meetings that both of them, the chairperson is will be going now at 2 o'clock starting in the NCOP, and the speaker will be having other meetings that are related to this work that's happening here. The Defense Force. No, guys, the Defense Force is always in Parliament during the State of the Nation address. They parade, they do preparations for the functions they do. It's part of their work. They far in advance. They are here in the precinct, parading up and down and so on. And part of the quarreling and the negotiations and speaking with the city is to enable the Defense Force, in fact, let's call the army broadly, its various components, to do its practice around the neighborhood here, including inside the precinct, as they are going to be receiving their commander-in-chief. So this is what happens regularly during the State of the Nation address. I don't know who funds the Speaker's Ball. I'll be attending it for the first time this year. I have no clue who funds it. We'll ask that question. We'll ask the Speaker when she has an opportunity to interact with you. In future, we'll ask her to do that tomorrow. Yes, she will be able to give you that information. The work of the security cluster and the work they do in Parliament, whatever nature it takes and so on, it's for their budgets. Parliament doesn't pay for that. It's for their budget unless there are specific things that Parliament says, we can't do it, you do it. In that case, it might require that transactions be undertaken for paying off whatever needed to be paid off in that environment and so on. I don't have the specific details. We will ask the Secretary when he has an opportunity to clarify that, because it is important. These are things that we can talk about transparently, the budget processes here in Parliament. By the way, you now know that Parliament has, as a result of the passing of the Parliamentary and Provincial Legislature Financial Management Act, created a subcommittee, a joint committee rather, between the National Assembly and the NCOP that oversees Parliament's budget. So there's a committee that does that. So on a regular basis, as they will plan, they'll make provision for that to be interrogated, the budget of Parliament to be interrogated. Those of government departments are similarly done so as well. I don't see one that I've left out. Have I left out any?
I think the technical one about invitations, I'll deal with that.
Oh yeah, yes. The issue about requests for meetings with the PGAs. I wish the PGA had made that request to us so that we must come and talk to you. I don't know whether it came to the speakers and so on, the presiding officer, so that we must come and clarify those things, which work that the officials are going to be carrying out and doing and so on. Yeah, okay.
We're meeting them now, tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
The PGA. Oh, there's a meeting at, as a Parliamentary Communication Services is meeting the Parliamentary Gallery tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I'm told. Any other questions? Oh, have I missed any? Okay.
Hello, I've dealt with you. Noted, Jolene. The next one, Andisiwa. And yourself, yeah, in that order. Noted. So we start there, and we take around like that.
It's Abra of the SABC. Mr. Tenodi, I am referring to a parliamentary document dated the 25th of January. And it says here, media entering this entrance must be accredited and will be restricted to Media Square and the designated areas. Can you please tell us, you said earlier you don't know where the idea of the Media Square comes from. where exactly is the media square? Over how large a part of Parliament does it cover? What are the restricted areas? Because it says this in this document, which is a parliamentary document. So could you please tell us where that square is?
And then let's take Andisiwe next.
Andisiwe Makinana from City Press. Mine is the same question. I don't have the document she has, but the PGA had a meeting with officials of Parliament that told the PGA the media will be boxed in 2 squares next to the Flame of Remembrance and in front of Port Hayes. And if you move between the two, you'll be escorted by security. We won't have access to the small street that goes to our offices in 100 Plain Street. And we won't have access to anything else that happens around Parliament. So we want assurance, Deputy Speaker, that says, you say it on record, we will be able to move in and outside the precinct like we've always done. We have never been a threat to anyone in this Parliament. We need a map that says this is where you will be allowed as journalists on Thursday. Because what we got on record in a meeting is you'll be in front of the NA or of Port Days, and if you move between the two, you'll be escorted by security.
Next question.
Thanks. Gay Davis, Eyewitness News. Deputy Speaker, I think you can see the credibility crisis that Parliament finds itself in here. I think that's the only way to put it, because we have consistently been putting questions and wanting assurances and wanting affirmation, and we are getting assurances, quite bland assurances. We're told that our freedom of movement's not going to be affected. Nobody is playing the cards straight with us, and either it means that you are deliberately trying to pull the wool over our eyes until we are in the hecticness of trying to cover the President's State of the Nation address, in which case we will then not be in a position to do anything about the situation in which we find ourselves hindered from doing our jobs. Or you don't know what's going on, sir, to be brutally frank. So I would like to back my colleague Janet Hurd's suggestion, and I'm sure I'll have my colleague's support on this. We would like an assurance in writing or in person with the people who are actually running the security show at Parliament for this event, because it is clearly not the presiding officers who are in charge, because they are not properly informed about the security measures that have been taken. Thank you.
The next question.
In support of my colleagues, last year, my media accreditation said journalist, no restrictions. I could move anywhere in the precinct, as I have been able to do since around 1998, 1999, when I started covering State of the Nation addresses. This year, I'm restricted to Media Square. You say you don't know what that is. This briefing was announced to give us a detailed input. Yet, clearly, you don't know, you said you don't know what Media Square is. You don't know where it comes from. The determinations have been made without consultation of the PGA in what is a fundamental breach of a working relationship and a trust between this institution and journalists who are based here, never mind any other journalist that comes here. This week, official confirmation has been given by the security forces that journalists will not be able to move without an escort beyond the Media Square. This is a fundamental change of how anything has happened in this so-called democratic parliament. Now, we have never, in 23 years, had any breach of anything related to security, the dignitaries, the ceremony, related to the ceremony, where journalists have not played by the rules. So this crackdown on journalists and the corralling of journalists in this Media Square, with security officials who are involved in the planning of this event confirming instructions that media will not be allowed to move without an escort, clearly somebody is not telling you the whole picture, sir, with all due respect.
The last one for this round.
Sorry, Bongatulane from ENCA. Deputy Speaker, clearly, who is planning security of Parliament? Is it the state security? Is it the usual guys used to it? Because with these new conditions, it seems like there's a bit of a break between communication in your office and the people who are planning. Has state security taken over? Are the same people? That's my question. I've been covered other ones.
Parliament has ultimate responsibility. It does that work with the security cluster in government. And as far as I'm concerned, there should be no reason for restrictions as happened in the past. And as far as I'm concerned, that's my view. And that's what I'm communicating. From last night, when I heard this is what I communicated to people in the media who asked me that, Janet specifically, and I repeat it here, that there is no basis for the restrictions of media as has happened in the past, unless there is an extraordinary reasons which has not come to our attention. As far as I'm concerned, that's what I will leave it at.
Okay. Look, I can see that this thing is going to be...
No. You see, some strong language have been used. I've avoided to respond to it. I do want to point out that we will make arrangements so that people must come and communicate what we have communicated, so that what's going to happen is understood fully, and I will make those arrangements properly as soon as I leave this meeting, so that communication is done. Yeah.
Wonderful. You're getting an assurance in that regard from the Deputy Speaker. You got an assurance from the STP, noted you. You got an assurance last week from the Secretary to Parliament. An undertaking is made now that he is going to give a very clear instruction in that regard. So can we then, I can understand, the fact that we would want to deal with this thing optimally today. But may I request that given this undertaking, can we then move to deal with other aspects of the dialogue? Thank you so much. The next one, I've noted you, and I will come back to you shortly.
Thank you for the assurance, Speaker. Deputy Speaker, just quickly, just clarity, have you met with the Secretary to Parliament to discuss these matters in the past month or 2 weeks as presiding officers? That's just get an idea whether you've met with him.
Yes, the presiding officers have done that.
Okay.
And he can't operate on his own in the first place. Yes.
And in light of what my colleagues have been saying and what's been reported in the last week or so, can we truly can you truly sit there as a presiding officer and say that this is indeed a people's parliament? Can it be considered as such, considering everything that has happened? Actually, everything that has been happening since 2014.
Yes. No. Let me respond to this. This is a political statement question, okay? Let's respond to it. Yes, it doesn't become a people's parliament because I decree it as such. It becomes a people's parliament because this is how it comes into being. Its existence can only happen if the people of South Africa agrees it must happen. That they will go to the elections and vote whoever they want to have to come into parliament to represent them. And if people feel that parliament is not fulfilling its responsibility, the election processes is one way to ensure that it continues to become a people's parliament. So it is. That there are things that you might be unhappy with and that might suggest that there are wrong things that are happening. Let's debate that and sort those out without suggesting that on the basis of what you see as a problem, therefore removes the constitutionality and the being and character of parliament. Every day in the committees of parliament, people come to see that. Every public hearing that is held in the name of parliament has had people attending to it in numbers. The high-level panel that's been going around the country in the name of doing work on behalf of parliament is attended to by people. And so all the committees that have taken place in the past has been attended to by people, by their presence here, by also those who watch, who can't come here physically and so on. Only the well-to-do and those who are supported are able to come to parliament and see it. With respect, I think it remains a people's parliament. And the problems that it will confront, we will have to deal with them as we sort them out, others as we've done in the past. We hope we will be able to do that to your satisfaction in certain respects.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. I don't know, you might find this another political question, but you're best placed to answer it. There seems to be a feeling that you know, that these restrictions on
Yes.
on media movement
Yes.
and so on that have been hatched without any proper sort of consultation with the body of journalists who work
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
That it's essentially geared to prevent anything other than the President's address being covered on Thursday. Because you'll recall what happened the last time the EFF left, and then there, you know, that there've been alternative press conferences staged and so on. I wondered if you could comment on that, on whether that is a strategy. I mean, you're free
Yeah.
to come up with whatever strategies you wish.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Whether it is, and whether you have serious issues in terms of either a risk to the President's well-being, or whether it's about an awareness that there's of the level of disruptions
Yeah.
that you're expecting. Thanks.
Yes, no, meaning, Makinana is very anxious to ask a question. Why don't you allow her? She wants to follow up.
No, I just wanted to check, Deputy Speaker, were you informed about these plans on security? I just want to suss out whether you were not told, people deliberately withheld information, or are you hearing about these things through the media or the first time in this press conference? Were you told about these plans for the media? Maybe you just came here without knowing that there's plans to box the media.
Well, I did say to you that this story, I don't know who concocted this idea of a media square and so on. What I'm saying to you is that, and I want to please, what meaning you attach to what's happening can't be attributed to Parliament and what it is planning to do and so on. Firstly, it would be absolutely ridiculous for anybody to plan that thing today, given the world of technology. I mean, really, whatever restrictions you have, people with cell phones, this is a multi-party system, and so people are different, have got different views. So whatever restrictions you can impose, if it is not of a security nature, if it is about communication, really, would you be able to do that? Like putting your fingers to plug a number of holes where water leaking and so on? That's how ridiculous to me it would sound. It would be if anybody would put that across as a strategy, really. It would be clumsy. My view is that we should take on board the responsibility for ensuring that your freedom is allowed. We undertook that that would not be, what is the word, tampered with, and that should be what happens.
Wonderful. Let's take two more questions.
Deputy Speaker Joseph Musi again from SABC. I've got two questions. The first one is regarding continuing on this. So I assume then from what you've just said, your response to the last answer is that the document that my colleague just read has no standing insofar as Parliament is concerned with regard to the idea of a media square that restricts media to a specific area. As far as my conclusion is that you are saying it has no standing and there's no such.
Yeah. The accreditation of journalists and where it gets done is one thing, and the work they do during the day inside Parliament is another. That would be my understanding. What do you pick up in what is internally communicated? I don't know. I mean, like, it's not like I'm the availability of documentation that speaks to agenda. We would normally have seen that. In other words, if it goes out as public stuff and so on. So where it has not come to us to approve that this is how the media would be quarreled off and quarantined and so on, I haven't seen that.
Okay, my
Yes.
second question.
Go ahead. There was another question which we need to take.
Oh, okay.
Okay, essentially this is a follow-up and some clarity.
Yes.
I know we keep going on, but I think there's a sense that we're not really getting to the bottom of it. Bearing in mind, Deputy Speaker, that you've said now that this idea of a media square, you don't know where it comes from.
Yes.
We've got it in black and white. It is a big
Yes.
concern.
Yeah.
Are you going to make sure now with the security
Yes.
establishment that it is not the case? Sorry, and because I think the issue is that they have a directive. So if you were in charge of security, that would be great. I think we'd all be very relieved.
Yeah,
but that is
then
not
I'm
the
yeah.
case. Thank you.
I'll follow you
So
up,
that
yes.
is where the problem keeps coming up.
Yes.
And it's not going to go away. No one there is standing or sitting in front of the podium with you to explain or assure us that security has been given no directive to inhibit or restrict the media. And that is why this issue is not going to go away until we get that assurance. So that is why I don't think you really answered my question also about the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. It seems, from all accounts, I mean, the PGA got really good information. That is first-hand information, no doubt about it. And I think they have got the utmost integrity, and there's never been a problem before over these years. So really, this is where we're at now. It's not going to go away. Thank you.
So when we live here, that you get it from someone you will feel comfortable hearing it from him to assure you. So I agree with you. I realize it won't go away because of that confusion that has been created by whatever happened. I think you deserve to be assured that that square was something else altogether.
I think because of other engagements, we might have to end our media conference. But it seems like she's feeling
Yes.
very strongly about
Yeah,
asking a question.
Please, let
Your
her
last
go ahead.
question, perhaps?
Yes, or comment.
No, just a very quick comment. The communication my colleagues were referring to, dated the 25th of January, is communication signed off by the Secretary to Parliament to honourable members and parliamentary staff. That is where the media square is said. And we are very grateful for your public assurances that have gone beyond what has previously been said by other authorities in this Parliament. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The one remaining thing is, and this is part and parcel of how the security establishment works, instructions and orders have already been given, and that includes even the guys from the SAPS bomb squad, that if you wear a red-colored tag with media square on it, you are media, you are not allowed to move beyond your square unless you are being escorted. So the issue of escort is similarly key. Those instructions, those orders have already been given.
Okay. She felt very strongly. She wants to say that. That's fine. Let's proceed. Any other question?
Any other matter? We not
Sky Harman, that
Assistant
assembly.
Wheeler, Wheeler.
So Harman,
No, I had said I have two questions. I was allowed to ask only one.
okay.
So this is my other question. The Deputy Speaker, it's not related to the security issue. It is about how Parliament feels that the ruling party, the ANC, is going to be having a people's assembly outside of the of the events at Parliament. What's your take on that? Being that the parliament of the people, which is this parliament, is actually the assembly of the people. How do these two work together, that the ruling party has a people's assembly outside? Does it give confidence to parliament as the people's assembly?
I just have a quick one.
What's that? Yeah. Sorry?
They seem to be related
Yeah, yeah,
somehow.
okay, all right.
Can we just take
Yes.
these three heads
Okay.
that popped up immediately?
Yes.
Hi there, Paul Herman from News 24. My question is very simple. So obviously you can't elaborate on the media squares, but we've all established that the security protocols are very different this year than to any other year. I'd just like Parliament's records, Parliament's reasoning on record why 2017 is different, and why, for instance, the accreditation centre has been moved, why the zone has been increased. Just the rationale behind why this year as opposed to other years. Thank you.
Second one.
It's also just a point of clarity. I'm not sure if I understood the deputy correctly, but you said something about restrictions on the media gallery. Does this mean that the 66 journalists who have been allocated those seats will not be able to move in and out? They have to stay put
No, no,
until the end?
No. The answer is no, ma'am.
The last one for this round.
Yeah, thanks. It just related to Joe's question about the People's Assembly on the Grand Parade. You know what, I'm just wondering what the president's got to say to supporters of his party that he can't tell the entire nation on Thursday evening. Thanks.
All right. Those are the last questions for now.
Yes.
May I hand over to Deputy Speaker?
The chief whip of the ANC is a communications man. He's available for you to respond to that. Parliament, the city, Parliament and the city, or in fact, it's the city that gives permission to people gathering outside of here. We collaborate with them as the institution to ensure that none of what they do disrupt the work here. The EFF, the DA, they have activities outside Parliament of one kind or another. All parties do that. Given their size, the impact will be different. And so I'm an ANC member, but I'm not here to speak on behalf of the African National Congress. I'm speaking on behalf of the presiding officers. What the presidents will say here, wherever they are, it's really their baby, as long as they don't interfere with parliamentary work inside here. If they do it outside, that's their baby. The adjustments of where the boundary lies today and so on is what gets discussed with the city, especially because sometimes the disruptions, the calculations that are made on the basis of what they have approved by way of what is going to happen and so on, determine where the red zone lies. So that's what happens every time. So those determinations are done by people who manage the crowds outside Parliament and the potential that it may have or not have on what's going inside Parliament and so on. So the risks are determined by what may have happened in the past to determine whether it is appropriate to stay with the same red zone and so on. Someone asked me this morning, I wasn't aware of the extent to which that has been done. But adjustments of, I call it disaster management strategies. Any large-scale event that brings that many people of that level of prominence has those kind of dynamics to bear. I come from local government where we spoke to regularly and encourage disaster management practitioners to be sensitive, to sensitize the politicos and the officials about the nature of the systems they put into place to ensure that we can handle any disaster that happens and so on, of whatever kind. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We hope we can give you additional information tomorrow through the PCS and so on, and also through other information that we'll try and get back to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deputy Chairperson, Deputy Speaker, and House Chairperson. For sure, let me confirm now, we're meeting PGA tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We will discuss these matters. The leadership, both the Secretary to Parliament as well as the leadership in front of you now, has given you clear assurances So the functionaries like myself and anybody else, even if it's a security official somewhere, we will be there and meeting you tomorrow to further ensure that practically this thing is realized, manifests. And then we also have a meeting with you even at lunchtime on the 9th to further deal with all these technical issues, etc. But I will be there. Please communicate with me. You've got my numbers now. And we have made arrangements for you to have some sandwiches or something to eat outside. Please help us deal with that. Otherwise, it's a fruitless expenditure. Thank you so much.